So, so I spoke about this in the video that should be attached at the bottom or wherever, and you can watch it after this. Mr. Mbeki just refused to be sucked in to black victimhood. And black victimhood is when you are just the victim and you never accept responsibility for anything. And this is a problem because for as long as you are resentful, envious, and a perpetual victim, you can never succeed. Someone says, "Oh, you do this because you hate black people." No, it's because I love people. I love black people and I want them to succeed. I want the next technological thing to come from South Africa, at least maybe from Africa, if not South Africa. I want the next big company that one can invest in because it's big enough and it's growing to be started by some boy who's right now in Groblersdal playing with toys, and I want him to reach the top of the top. I want to walk down nice roads in South Africa. I want beautiful buildings in South Africa. Come on. And it can never happen in with a mindset of victimhood and all of that. So let me play you this. Dr. Sizwe Mpofu Walsh keeps trying to suck Mr. Mbeki into, oh, poor us black people. Everything that's happening with America has nothing to do with anything but that Trump, being a white man, is just terrorizing us being black people. That's it. Nothing else. So he tries it here and Mbeki answers something, and I wanna then give you a biblical reaction, my biblical reaction at the end, and let's watch.
As you say that, I just wonder, do you think we should send a delegation, not necessarily a government delegation, but maybe some kind of counter delegation to speak to the Congressional Black Caucus, senators who might be more leaning towards South Africa, maybe former President Obama, for example? Or do you think we should just leave it to the government to sort out, as someone who's actually seen this kind of movement up close?
Did you see how sneaky that was? Maybe the solution is if we can talk to the blacks, talk to Obama, oh, black, if we can, then they can do something, because this is all just about this racist white bully in the White House. Very funny that when the same bully bullies Zelensky, they still go for him, right? Because it's politics of envy. So whoever is more successful must be wrong. I mean, let me show you something. How funny is it that our media has never mentioned this? I'll come back to this. This is AGOA, right? Which we signed. Okay, AGOA for sub-Saharan countries. So to meet AGOA requirements, countries must establish continual progress towards establishing a market-based economy. Market-based, which means it's an economy that's based on supply and demand. So it says if you manage to sell it, let the people buy it. That's the only time the government gets involved, right? Now, we don't really have a market-based economy. We have a race-based economy. Do we or do we not? Of course we do. Okay. And the rule of law, meaning not a rule of government, and all of that. Additionally, countries must eliminate barriers to US trade investment and enact policies to reduce poverty, combat corruption, and protect human rights. Okay. Now, forget that it's America, forget that it's anybody. If, first of all, the Expropriation Act, I know someone quickly wants to start lecturing me about apartheid. Let's just talk about what's here. I'm not angry enough, resentful enough, envious enough to run with that. We can talk apartheid when we need to, but we're just talking about this contract. A market-based economy, rule of law. Now, expropriation without compensation. I know some people have lied and said every country does it. No, not without compensation. Expropriation law, did it breach this clause of the AGOA Act? You can debate that it does breach it, right? You can certainly argue that the Expropriation Act takes the rule from the rule of law to the rule of the comrades, because they get to say what's, of course it goes through court, but you must pay for the court, whatever. But it's comrades. That's why, to justify it, they don't use legal terms, they use historic terms, right? So Expropriation Act is already a breach of AGOA. It certainly is a breach of AGOA, or at least we could argue that it could be a breach. And AGOA requires that you combat corruption. That's just to qualify for it. Okay, come on, guys. Come on. If you're in charge of this agreement and you read the Zondo Commission, do you think South Africa qualifies for AGOA? No, but it's all because we're black. Now, I'm not taking sides, but I'm saying it is this black victimhood, black resentment, black envy that causes someone to never think straight. Why does this happen? I'll tell you now. Booker T. Washington, he was a leader of the first freed slaves in America. He said something. He said there's another class of colored people, read it for us like black people, who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the black race before the public, because they've learned that they're able to make a living out of the hurts of black people. That's why the economy doesn't grow, because some people make a living from black poverty, black anger, black resentment, black envy. Why do they do it? Partly because they want sympathy. Of course, it gets you a following, and partly because it pays. Some of these people do not want blacks to stop being angry because they don't want to lose their jobs. This was a guy in 1800 in America, so this is not new. We've still got the comrades who make money from black anger, black envy, black resentment, which takes away our ever ability to think straight or to ever account for our actions. So Bofu Walsh then asks, maybe we should talk to the black people because we know, since you know what's going on. He means, since you know that Trump is a Ku Klux Klan member. I can I say something? I like people like Julius Malema. Why? Because, at least they have guts. They say what they mean what they say. What I rubs me the wrong way are the sweet, kind sounding, hateful, demonic individuals. Oh, give me Julius Malema any day. He will say what he means. He will mean what he says. And you can disagree with him or agree with him. Give me Rob Hertzhoff on the other side. He will say what he means and mean what he says, and you can agree or disagree. Boy, do I dislike like that. toxic anti vibes. You know what I'm talking about? So anyway, but he doesn't answer. He doesn't really fall into it because he still divides different sections and he answers like this.
Yeah, I would be inclined to say, let's leave the government and our diplomats to handle
Sure.
this issue. Because as civil society, South Africans, as I pointed out, we have no arguments with the Americans.
Yeah.
We have no quarrel with the United States as South African civil society, as South African business, and so on. So to involve ourselves in what really is not the struggle of the civil society. This is an issue between, as I say, between the ANC and the Republicans. You see, the ANC, there's a big story around the United States and South Africa. The population has been helping us going back to the 19th century. For example, the Black American churches were very supportive, especially a church called the AME Church. It helped with this anti-apartheid struggle going way back, long before.
I'm not even going to say anything. I won't take time so we get to the end of this video. But Mbeki is just stressing out this man. No, we're supposed to think in two ways. There's an oppressor, America. Don't divide America into sections. And then there's oppressed, us, we. But he's messing up the script.
Wow.
To advance the rights of black people in South Africa. They gave us scholarships. People like Charlotte Maxeke, remember, went to black American universities in the United States. So they were supported, and Pixley Kaseme went to Columbia University. Yeah. So the American public has been sympathetic to the suffering of African people, black people in South Africa. So I'd rather myself say, let the government handle this and see, hopefully they can resolve the matter.
Just lastly, I wonder what you think about, or how worried you are about the US pulling trade levers that could hurt the South African economy, and whether you think we are actually prepared, for a US that might withdraw, either cancel AGOA altogether or withdraw South Africa from AGOA, and what leverage we have in return. I mean, the only thing I can really think of is, for example, I know that we supply the US with about 70% of its platinum or something like that. But outside of that, I don't know if we really have any countermeasures that can get them to worry about leaving their relationship with us, given their size.
Yeah, I would be reluctant to turn this into a war or a trade war.
Absolutely. So I'm done with that. Definitely, you'd be reluctant to turn this into a trade war. Let me tell you what's the issue that happens with why we're here as a country, and let's close with my biblical reaction. So you remember Mary took a pound of very expensive oil, anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of expensive oil. But one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, who would betray him. This is the spirit of betrayers. Who would betray him? Says, why was this oil not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor? See, he's positioning it like he cares about the poor, and that's why he hates the use of the expensive oil for someone else. So you have envy against how much they are having, and you saying, I'm fighting for the poor. Okay, now while all of this is happening, my camera decides to disappear, but I'll be back in the next 5 seconds. Now, why did he say this? He didn't say this because he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief. Let that sink in a little bit. He was a thief and he had the money bank and he wanted to stay closest to the money bank so that he can take some for himself. And then Jesus answered and said, let her, she kept this for my burial. And he says, for the poor you will always have, but me you don't always have. In other words, poverty is not something that can ever not exist. And that doesn't mean don't care for the poor, but don't ever act like the existence of a poor person means the rich must be punished, right? That's why ANC doesn't care about poverty. They care about inequality. They don't really want people to come out of the suffering of poverty. They just want to see that someone else doesn't have more. And so black victimhood, black anger, black resentment, black envy is great business for the Judases. And you will not hear this everywhere, but we hear because I'm hoping that just find some few people. This is not popular to say if you are black, you get in trouble. But hey, I'm saying enter by the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction. It's been destroying the whole continent. The whole continent, you listen to people who come out of Rolls Royces and come to an interview and you would swear that they're struggling while their citizens are struggling. And as soon as they get there, they're going to be a victim of the West. They're going to be envious of the West because the West has more money, and they're going to blame everything on there. It's not because they care about the poor. It's not even because they love black people. And unfortunately, black people fall for this. They confuse someone who hates white people with someone who loves them. You heard in this interview, someone's already talking about what if we can fight further while ignoring everything else that you could do. Like think about how to stick to the AGOA rules. Think about how to manage your people to stop fighting and focus on winning this side, right? None of that will happen. Why? Because to do all of that, you have to love black people. You have to love all South Africans. Now, unfortunately, black South Africans think if someone is envious of white people, if someone is envious of the Stellenbosch mafia, it must be because they love me. No, maybe they just want to steal what the Stellenbosch mafia has. They just envy the Stellenbosch mafia. And that has been proven. So anyway, but at least there are few who find this. Narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life. I expect some, insults all the time, but that's fine. It's difficult the way that leads to life, and there are few who find it. So I want to ask you to be one of the few who finds this way, especially if you're black and you're a Christian at any kind of level. How about this? How about we forgive white people, we stop envying white people, get a clear mind, see what's happening so we can go out and prosper and empower all people. And guess what? Automatically, many black people will be empowered too. So, that's a difficult way, but there are few who find it. So, hope you find it. As I close, as usual, if you like this, press the like button now. As I close, I say, no man can serve two masters, because he'll love the one and hate the other. Or he'll respect the one and dishonor the other. You cannot serve God and Karl Marx. Let me hear your thoughts at the bottom. But for now, we'll see you. I am going to do one more video from this interview. Let's make history together.